This is your class live essay for your Fate versus Free Will essay for English 1B. For this essay, you're going to be selecting one of two stories, either Oedipus or Romeo and Juliet. And if you go back and review the assignment, you will see that it talks about, it actually provides two lists of events, one list for Oedipus and one list for Romeo and Juliet. And I would suggest that you go look at those lists and select 3 events and let those events serve as your body paragraphs. It's going to help you organize your essay and know what you're going to talk about. So definitely go back and pick 3 of those events. And then we're going to start writing. For your introduction, I highly suggest opening up with some context of the story. If we're talking about Romeo and Juliet, you might start talking about Verona, Italy, 2 families hate each other, but out of that hate springs a love. If we're talking about Oedipus, we're talking about ancient Greece, communing with the gods, soothsayers, predictions, all sorts of things like that. Always, 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 anytime you're writing about literature, include the title and the author of the work you're writing about. Otherwise, your reader can probably guess, but why should we have to guess when you can just tell us? You'll list your main points, which again are those 3 events from the lists in the assignment, and your thesis statement. Now remember, your thesis statement should include something about the theme of fate versus free will. That's what this assignment is all about, is proving you understand the theme of fate versus free will and how it appears in the stories. For your body paragraphs, they're all very similar. You're going to have your topic sentence, evidence, which should be quotes from the text, explain your evidence, tie it back to your thesis, and then repeat, so you'll have another piece of evidence or direct quote. You'll explain, and you'll tie back to your thesis. So for example, if I was talking about Romeo and Juliet, an event that I think is particularly interesting when we're discussing fate versus free will is when Romeo slays Tybalt. So I might include in my evidence, the quote of where Romeo initially says to Tybalt that he won't fight him. He says, I love thee better than thee know, or something to that effect. And so my topic sentence would say, when Romeo slays Tybalt, is that an act of free will, or was he fated to do so? And then again, that evidence that I just cited, my explanation would follow the lines of, he refuses to kill Tybalt and tries to break up the fight between Mercutio and Tybalt. And in doing so, in avoiding his fate of initially fighting Tybalt, does he seal his fate in eventually being the one who kills Tybalt? And it's, again, tying it back to my thesis, was he fated to do that? Was that his fate to, at some point, kill Tybalt, and he just put it off when he tried to stop Mercutio and Tybalt from fighting? And it was his fate to kill Tybalt at some point, and he just pushed it back or delayed it? Or was that free will? Did he really just lose his temper because Mercutio died, and did he just decide to kill Tybalt? That's a tough thing to answer, but again, this is what my essay would, at least that paragraph, would be talking about, and I'd pick another piece of evidence and explain that. And that's what your body paragraphs should look like. They should flow pretty nicely one into the other. Then you'll go into your conclusion, which should be very, very similar to your introduction. You're going to use your main points in your thesis. Again, your title and author should make an appearance. I always look for a title and author, an intro, and a conclusion, so make sure at the very least it's there. And then some closing context information. We can talk about the end of Oedipus, how he kind of goes off and becomes a nobody, and leaving the throne to Creon. Or with Romeo and Juliet, we have these 2 families who are kind of forced to live with what's happened. And again, maybe they're fated for that. Maybe they're fated to lose, the youngest of the clan to teach them a lesson. So next I have some do's and don'ts. Do always reread your essay for clarity. If it's what you're writing isn't super clear and you're rereading it, you're going to catch it. I highly recommend you reread out loud. It's going to help you catch any awkward grammatical issues that you might have. Don't assume that one draft is going to be perfect. Rarely is it. And so if I send it back to you and ask you for rewrites using certain details and information, please do so. Do explain and give relevant evidence. You can give a great quote, but if you don't explain it, your quote is useless. You can say, Oedipus says, "Oh, my eyes look upon the world one last time." But if you don't explain why that quote is important, it's just a useless quote. Don't use personal pronouns or talk about your essay as an entity. Nothing breaks my heart more than when I open up an essay and it starts with, "Today in my essay, I'm going to," or "For this essay, I will," or "This essay will prove." No, please don't do it. Your essay doesn't need personal pronouns. Just start writing. You don't talk about yourself as a writer in an essay. You don't talk about your essay as an entity. Just write the essay. Do use direct quotes from the plays. Direct quotes from Oedipus. Put them in quotation marks to show that this is what a character or a chorus is saying. Use these quotes. Explain them well. They're going to make your essay sound smart and effective. So that's it. If you've got any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you in class.